Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Wednesday, September 25th, and we are on the European account. We spent almost all the last recording trying to do the solo adventure, and I really just proved to myself that I'm gonna have to do that off screen. Here we're gonna have to win it with the rogue, I assume, because I don't think I can win with the warrior. And maybe get a second victory, and that's kind of all we need to do, unless I was to decide that I needed to do the weekly tavern brawl for the European account or Asian account right now, and I don't see a real reason for that. So let's just burn through the news, because clearly I'm gonna have to spend hours and hours trying to beat the Plague Lord bosses on my main account. Or you know, I could play it on my European account and then I would have had one Plague Lord boss done already, but that's not really how I want things to break down, because focusing in on anything other than the main account is not useful, since the main account has so many more cards. So we have an article here from TechRaptor, Greedfall Review, The Heart of Ambition. I've heard a lot of people say this, that Greedfall was very ambitious but then failed to meet that ambition. Some other complaints that I don't think really probably are too terrible. Although pushing stereotypes, which was one of the category chapters in this article, is something I'm also complaining about Lego City Undercover. You have I think by today's standards, downright racist voices of Chinese people and depictions of Chinese people as the Chinese mob, and then you jump to a similarly downright racist depictions of Italian people and Italian mobs. And even Appalachian people, just Appalachian mountain men of the United States are kind of racistly depicted. And I've never seen anything like that in a Lego game before. It is so crazy that there wasn't somebody in charge stopping some of the stuff that was put into Lego City Underground, to the point where I don't think it's age appropriate to let a kid play Lego City Underground. A Lego game for kids, I don't think is appropriate for kids. It's got humor in it that would be more appropriate for an Adult Swim like cartoon, or maybe right before an Adult Swim cartoon, but it's kind of like a Family Guy light type comedy, more than what you expect from a Lego game, which should be ages 6, appropriate for everybody that possibly could ever play this game. Like, and that's really saying a lot when you know you have Indiana Jones movies, which were PG-13 and probably should have been R movies, and you're covering those without making them age inappropriate. And you have the Star Wars movies, which again, Steven Spielberg in particular, good at making sure that his movies are mostly family friendly. See if I can play this and this, that'd be great, but I can't, so let's get that and that on the field next turn, and instead go
this guy's toast
with this.
Hey, lights out.
Getting back to the review, TechRaptor gave it a 6.5, which is to say it's not even a 7.5, which is an average video game. Summary is: overly ambitious, Greedfall fails more than it seems to succeed, yet the game's heart and Spider's passion, Spider being the developer, shines through, making the game an enjoyable experience. Pros are that it's a unique world, some really strong narrative beats, flexible character creation, and mechanics, and has lots of hearts. The cons are it feels small at the times. It has poor overarching plot line, a lot of technical issues, and it relies too much on stereotypes. Okay. I think the general storyline of Greedfall is that there are colonialists in a world taking control and subjugating a local population. So it's like Pilgrims and Native American type analogy.
Here we go.
This. And then I'd have to hit
lights out.
This. That.
Hey, lights out.
I still think I'd probably have Greedfall on the fall list at the very least. Some of the technical problems could be fixed. Some of the storyline problems probably won't ever be fixed, but could be overlooked. I guess it is also probably worth me thinking it through and saying it just to myself out loud that if Greedfall is doing stereotypical characters and it's an adult game where adults can recognize those stereotypical characters, that's a lot better than a kids game where stereotypes could easily be taken as 100% accurate depictions of the people. I mean, that's really what propaganda often is it's a stereotype or a simplified depiction of a person or an event or whatever being sold as if it is 100% accurate.
Who comes there?
Right. So how are we gonna do this? You have to kind of do, well, you have to do this, and then we have to do this.
Here we go.
Do this. And then in the turn. Moving on, Gamer Sutra has an article. LVP raises $80 million to fund new game startups. I've never heard of LVP, but apparently they're a venture capital group. They have so far funded Rising Thunder developer Radiant and Sensible Object. I don't know either of those companies. So this is kind of an inside baseball money matters article that doesn't mean anything to me. TechRaptor has an article here. Google Play Pass is launched in the US. Basically just in a Me Too, I guess you can't even use that phrase anymore. In a mentality that Google has seen before, in the same way that they created Google Plus just to compete against Facebook.
Here we go.
Google Play now is trying to compete with Apple Arcade. I think the big difference here is, and it says in an article, little in the way of promotion or buzz. Google Play Pass is a subscription service that gives access to 350 apps and games, which are all completely unlocked, which means they're ad-free, do not have in-app purchases or upfront payments. But apparently, maybe some DLC payments later on. But Amazon's App Store had a similar feature already like that. Terraria, Risk, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, AccuWeather, that's not a game, Monument Valley, Lick Spear, Mini Metro, Old Man's Journey, and Limbo, and this War of Mine and Citus is coming later. So all of those are kind of classic games that have been free in the past, a lot of them on Google Play. What this mostly, I think, comes down to is a realization that the App Store concept has just failed. As an experiment, it is just completely fallen apart and boiled down to, well, to use a phrase, the crabs in the pot, where every crab, if it stood on top of its head, could fall out of a pot, but that's not what they do. Instead, they pull each other downward. The apps and games, both on iOS and Google Play, have pulled themselves down to the worst possible free-to-play, in-app purchase garbage games, and so now there is this need to create a second tier of elite games that actually have some sense of, or at least Google is hoping will have some sense of credibility behind it, and Apple is hoping the same thing with their Apple Arcade, that these games will speak to quality and create a branding opportunity that would not be available otherwise.
I fight. Here we go.
If I had an Apple device, I think I would be way more interested in doing Apple Arcade, which is releasing new games, whereas Google Play Pass doesn't seem like it's releasing anything new. I have a Google phone, but at the current moment, I've kind of got everything I think I'd ever need as far as apps. So I don't think I would reinstall or install a bunch of new games. I'm perfectly happy with just playing Destiny Child, which a game like that would never show up on something like Play Pass. Here, I'm gonna lose. Unfortunately, I should probably just play casual. Gamma Sutra has the same article, by the way. Play Pass and its library of 350 apps offers a different take on mobile subscriptions. I'm not even particularly happy on my cell phone that I'm paying a monthly fee for the phone service, which probably goes to say a lot. But yeah, I would be very happy if I could use my cell phone and not lose my phone number. That's about the only thing that I don't want to lose. I'd like people to actually be able to call me in a realistic way instead of having like a Google Plus phone number. I'm so personally rarely outside of my own house and Wi-Fi that I don't even really need the LTE service or anything like that. So yeah,
I will fight with honor.
Watch.
I don't really, I'd really like to just have a cell phone that I pay $500 to $1,000 for every couple of years, and it would just work with a phone calls, text, and such on Wi-Fi, and I would be more than happy with that. That there's also probably some other services I'd be pretty happy to not pay for. If I had faster internet for less, that would always be good. Paying for things like gas and water and electricity sucks. These are all things by modern standards that are needs, not wants, and yet you're still charged a lot for these things. I opened somebody's Twitter feed and I have no idea why. I think I just accidentally clicked on them. Well, moving on then.
Choose soon. The light protects me.
Let's see. Let's make sure this is YouTube friendly.
Reporting for duty.
This is probably an advertisement, but TechRaptor has this article: conquered Japan's eligible bachelorettes in Sengoku Ransei. Now available on Manga Gamer, not on Steam. Manga Gamer, I believe, being one of the publishers that is trying to push people away from buying their games on Steam and instead buying it on their on their own website. Manga Gamer. This is an adult game, by the way, turn-based RPG game, and not safe for work. $31.45 if you're interested. Right now, and there is a video here that I will watch, but I won't show, just in case it is YouTube unfriendly. I still don't really get the idea behind making an entire RPG and then using it just to sell a few scenes of lewd imagery and sex scenes and sexual dialogue. The animation style, I will say, for this game is kind of old school. It feels a lot more like a 90s anime than a modern animation style. But also it's not really showing me a ton. It's just kind of showing the characters in still images, which probably implies a lot. Half the characters are male and don't look that interesting either. For an adult game, there's a surprisingly large amount of lacking of female characters. Now I'm seeing a bunch of text on screen. Yeah, I've seen maybe three female characters in the entire video and about 8 males. So that video is not informative at all. So I would have to go to their own website, and then it asked me for an age verification, which I guess I've never been to Manga Gamer's own website. And then that lets me look at screenshots for some not safe for work characters. Yeah, there's several characters that I don't believe were even shown. That brings it up to about maybe 6 female characters in the game. Yeah, it doesn't really look like a great game, honestly, even by adult game standards. It seems very, very much like it might be an older game that has just been being re-released.
I fight. Here we go.
But I guess if you're interested, go check it out. TechRaptor has an article here. Climate Change Gaming Partnership has devs teaming up to save the planet. I think this was originally published as PlayStation teamed up with some division of the United Nations, some almost certainly non-binding committee of the UN. But now the article is being reported as Sony, Microsoft, Google, and a bunch of other companies trying to reduce their impact. Now there's a whole list here of Sony, Microsoft, Supercell, Ubisoft. Like, of course, everybody is going to say they're going to try and do something. It's good PR. They of course will only do as much as it doesn't affect your bottom line. As the second it does affect your bottom line or their bottom line, they'll stop doing anything that's ecological. And in the end, the real polluting is not really being done by a company like Sony or Microsoft. Sony and Microsoft could maybe make some rules about we're not going to have printed manuals anymore in the games, which they've already kind of done that. Or we're going to reduce the amount of plastic in the DVD cartridges and things like that. For the next generation of things, I imagine we will have thinner, smaller carriers of some sort. Something that would be closer to, I imagine, a CD. A CD case, although maybe CD cases had a problem, and that's why they got thinner and taller. I wouldn't be surprised if one of the companies decides to go with clear plastic instead of spending the extra effort to color the plastic. Although it may be just as easy to make clear or white plastic as it is to make blue plastic or black plastic. But in the major amount of polluting, which would be in the development process of the consoles themselves, that's all done at the assembly factory in China, and Sony and Microsoft can just claim ignorance there, and the Chinese companies will just lie to them and say, oh yeah, we're recycling, when they probably aren't.
Your presence offends me.
Let's see. Next we have an article here from TechRuptor. Updated, a Batman Court of Owls rumor is spreading further after a WB Montreal tweet. So, the Court of Owls comic book series, I don't think is still going on. There was a mini run of books, lots of different Batman books. At the time, I think about half of everything DC was publishing was some way related to Batman. And it was, I think, relatively well received, and an interesting, slight different story. It introduced new bad guys instead of just having Batman fight the Joker yet again. I'm gonna go with Zoo Warlock because I think that was working pretty well. So the rumors are that a new game is coming out from WB based on the Court of Owls series. So the update here is a few hours after posting the original story below, the 4 symbols were shown in the WB Games Montreal Batman 60th Anniversary were tweeted out once again with the caption, "Capture the Night Cape Sir knew it." If it wasn't suspected, then an announcement is imminent before it sure is now. So there's this there's these symbols posted out, so seems like a Batman game is incoming. And okay, yeah, this could be a long con, but I don't know why you would I don't see why it would be a long con, frankly. I guess the biggest question would be, is this going to somehow be exactly like the previous Batman games, or are they taking it in a very different direction. Because they kind of need to take it in a very different direction. Like, I don't think the Batman series or the Arkham Asylum series can go on anymore. I think you have to kill it, you have to say it's dead, you have to say that everything that happened up until that point is not canonical. I think the Joker was dead in the last Batman game. I think you probably want to undo that and maybe tease the Joker at the end of the game if you're making a Court of Owls game. I think you have a completely different gameplay style, a completely different mentality. I don't think you can do anything the way things used to be done. Because if there's even a slight feeling that this is just more of the same bad Batman, it's not going to get reviewed well. And yeah, it seems like it's likely to happen. It would be really ridiculous to tease or imply a teasing of a new Batman series, which they had to make a new Batman game. WB was not going to let that die. In the same way that WB will not let, would never let the Batman movies die. So yeah, they had to do something. I'm just hoping it's something new. I'm hoping it feels completely different. Maybe it takes a lot of cues from the most recent Spider-Man game, and if it's much closer to the Spider-Man game, it still wouldn't really be too far away from the Batman games, but it's probably almost certainly would be better than the latest Batman game. Or, and this is some counter thought, or this is actually going to be a Lego Batman game. And if it was a Lego Batman game, okay.
Why do you call?
Hit that. There we go. I could kind of see that, yeah.
You belong to the
There's already been Lego Batman 1, 2, and 3. Lego Batman 3 was more about the Justice League in totality. So I could kind of get the idea of trying to bring it back and make a Lego Batman Court of Owls game. Moving on, TechRaptor has an article. A Pride Run charity donation will see 10% of the profits going to the Kaleidoscope Trust. Apparently this is a game. I think it's an upcoming indie strategy game. You were rolling pride parades through the streets. Interesting. Well, if you're making an activist game, yeah, this doesn't look particularly interesting. It looks just like a rhythm type game, almost like a dance game. The problem with activist games in general is that your first priority is to be an activist and get out a message, not make a good game. So I would be concerned, at the very least, that a game like that would be boring. Let's go ahead and do that. But if there's something that you think would be helpful and useful, by all means check out that game when it comes out. On the other hand, even if you wanted to support a Pride organization, just support them. Any organization, any organization you want to donate to, it's much better for you just to directly donate to them and get the tax write-offs yourself instead of buying a product. Then you won't be able to get a tax write-off. Let's move over to the Asian account. Like, it really doesn't make sense to go through a middleman. It only makes sense for the corporations. And we've seen this even for AAA publishers and AAA games, where they say, if you buy this product, we'll donate $10,000 to this charity. Well, that's a $10,000 write-off that they probably needed for their taxes. And it's a $0 write-off for you, and you'll get potentially investigated if you try to use it as a write-off. I can't roll anything, so I guess we have to do the Tavern Brawls. Alright. And then we'll have to play Murlocs too, if we still have time. I can see the end of the end of the tunnel as far as articles. Like, considerably small amount of games came out between Monday and Wednesday. So we've got a game on Steam here called Starzius, which is a 2 zoomed in shoot 'em up game, bullet hell style game. It's just like taking up way too much of the screen. The ships are and the bullets are, so you're gonna get hit by a bunch of BS shots a lot. And yeah, it's just polygons. $2.99 English only. That's of course not making it to the follow list. Let's see, what do I want here to start off with? Gamatsu has an article for the PS4. A game called Spirit of the North launches November 1st. Spirit of the North apparently is a fox. Play as a fox. I wonder if this is related to that other game. I bet it isn't. There was a game where you played a native Alaskan girl, and she had like a spirit animal that was helping her. I wanted to play that, and it's still definitely on my list. I've just never gotten around to doing it. Let's just see what this trailer shows me. I see a fox going through water and waterfalls. It has like a spirit fox also, so apparently either the fox switches between a real form and spirit forms, or the fox communicates with other spirits of foxes. And it seems like the also might be a little bit of both, because it's also in the cutscene in this trailer communicating with the spirit of a person. Looks like it might be an interesting kind of walking simulator game, but being a PlayStation 4 exclusive, it probably won't have too much that's special about it. Play one cost minion onto the field. Let's attack first and see if that's explosive trap. Then play this. We have a game on Steam here, Hacker Evolution 2019 HD Remaster from Exo Siphon Studios. This is weird because I'm fairly certain I have Hacker Evolution, so I don't know if this is a actual remaster by maybe a company that now owns Hacker Evolution or if this is just a clone of the game. I wouldn't be surprised if Hacker Evolution as a hacking simulator game actually is an open source like type game, or if it's just kind of a port of Uplink, and maybe Uplink is open source. Looking at this developer though, there's a Hacker series, Hacker Evolution Duality, Railroad Adventures, Hacker Evolution Untold, and Hacker Evolution. So even the people that seem like they would be into these games don't seem like they like these games. Let's go look at these mixed reviews for Hacker Evolution, the non-updated version from 2010. Let's see. Very lacking in exploring the basic stuff properly, therefore I can't give it a thumbs up. It's short, the game has some fun if you like this hacking command line thing, but it is a very challenging game. Maybe that's the point, maybe it's not. Yeah, I think Hacker Evolution is probably the bad one, where Uplink is the good hacking simulation game. I'll put this on the follow list because I always love a programming / hacking game. But yeah. Didn't attack in time, darn it. Spent too much time talking about Hacker Evolution. You get into a weird situation, certainly with a hacking simulating game, particularly something like Uplink, which is showing you the basics of it, because you have to kind of carefully guide a child who would be learning these things in most cases, and do not have a fully developed brain enough to know, hey, doing these things can end you up in jail quite a bit and for a very long time and cause a lot of damage. I imagine it is the digital equivalent of taking a child to a gun range and teaching them how to properly shoot things. So yeah, you have to be careful about that, but also people have to kind of learn this stuff, because the other side of being a quote-unquote hacker is being a security IT person, and you need to know the methods and the operations at the very least, as far as how these things happen and how these attacks happen. See. In a weird way, there probably is a problem with Hacker Evolution being a remaster in 2019 compared to 2010. Also, the underlying concepts and technology haven't changed, but the attack vectors have changed quite a bit. In 2019, you're attacking iPhones and cell phones. You're not attacking Windows 95 PCs. You'd be attacking Windows 10 PCs at the very least, or Windows 7 or 8. With that also, you're not targeting per se just stealing small bits of data as much as ransomware has been on the rise, and certainly the security has increased quite a bit in a lot of things. There's a bunch of Internet of Things around now too that are terribly insecure. So what makes up the internet is a very different thing. The software to hack things is probably improved a little bit, and the script kiddie stuff that would be pre-found exploits, those are also a thing, certainly. There's a lot more of those now. Let's see.
Job's done.
So, yeah. It would be really hard just to keep up with a lot of that stuff, too. Moving on, we have a game on Steam called Rory Claw's Itsy Bitsy Edition, which is a low-effort platformer with MS Paint graphics, basically. 99 cents, English, allegedly full audio. I kind of like the idea of a spider with sunglasses and a sun hat and a umbrella, but that's kind of the only thing I like. It's a funny thought. Right. Secrets. Wind Fury. Charge. And that. Giving my beast charge would be nice. Next we have a game on Steam called Super Chucho, I guess is how that's pronounced. I hope that's not an insult word in Spanish or something. Looks like it's a terrible MS Paint looking platforming game. There's nothing appealing visually there. Discounted 38%, which is an odd percentage, to $4.95. English only. Yep, nothing here. Next we have a game on Steam called Applewood, which looks like a platformer. It's like, this must have been the week to release platforming games. I will say the animation in this one looks a little bit better, but still doesn't seem to be particularly intriguing of a game. Like, if you're gonna show me a platformer or maybe a Metroidvania looking game, it's gonna have to look really, really good for me to be interested. This is $4.79 discounted, English only. Like, honestly, if there weren't so many other better games on Steam, I would consider putting this on the fall list. But it just kind of falls apart because of the visualness of it. Yeah, we'll be generous. We'll put it on the fall list. We'll see if maybe he can get a small following. I bet he can't. Taunt, poisonous. And this. And this. And this. And then this. Jeez, I'm just not playing fast enough. I'm gonna lose because I'm taking too long. Oh, I heard Giant Bomb talk about the game Session, this skating simulator game. Incredibly complicated. It's in beta right now. Incredibly hard to play is what they said, which I believe them enough to say that that's at least somewhat accurate and the exact opposite of what I was looking for in a skating game. My hope was Session was going to be more of an arcadey style, very easy to play type game, and clearly that's not the case. taunt. We have a taunt here. Can we just add some damage somewhere? If I could get something that would adapt. Alright. This will work. Deal damage equal to this minion's attack. There. And win. Feel a little sleepy. See, this is the problem of adjusting my insomnia so I'm waking up at reasonable hours, is that I spend the most of the day just kind of out of it and groggy. Like, it's like 2:36 in the afternoon and I'm like, I'm a little sleepy. I'm a little dragging here. And I'm definitely not going through the news as fast as I should be. Here we have a game called Snow Clearing Driving Simulator. Clearly this is a low effort asset flip garbage game. There might be a concept here. In the Lego City game, if you hadn't just been playing as an undercover cop the entire game, having missions where you have to clear snow would fit in pretty well. But as a side game, it's not visually appealing or worth playing. This is discounted to $1.59, English only. Let's see, let's roll out all of those. We have a game on Steam called Tetra Project, which looks like it is a placement / card strategy game of some sort. This probably is a cheap Chinese game that's really short, if I was to guess. Looking at the screenshots, it doesn't seem like the backgrounds or the environments change much, and it does kind of feel like the characters are just out of nowhere. Seems like you're a guy being dragged around by a girl in her underwear. They're calling it a roguelike, early access, English not included, $7.99, Chinese only. And then this looks like a lot of low effort MS Paint icons, which probably speaks to a low quality game. Let's see.
Job done.
Next, we have a game on Steam called Last World, which looks like a Roblox clone with shooting, Fortnite clone type game. Does not look good. It's a VR game. So player versus player in VR, I've never seen that succeed, and I have zero faith that would succeed in this case. We'd like to try to figure out how they even for a second think that they would be able to have players running around and avoiding getting hit, because that would be the big question. Darn it. Well, Blast World is coming soon and requires a third-party account, and I'm not going to bother to put it on the follow list at all. I don't think you'd have much of a game if you were playing in VR or something like Overwatch and you were getting teleported around randomly, because the player wouldn't be able to control their own movement. I just don't think that would work. Next, we have a game on Steam called Skyrift, which seems like it is also a player versus player VR experience, where you're standing in one place and shooting at things, and it looks low polygonal and boring. $6.99 actually doesn't use VR. It's just ugly looking for no reason, I guess. And it looks like you stand in one spot for no reason. Yep. That is a low effort game. Let's see.
Job's done.
If I could play this and then this, that'd be nice. Next, we have a game on Steam called Dino Zoo Transport Simulator, which is, of course, a low-effort asset flip. Although, I'd really like to know where the actual good game that uses these dinosaur models is, because it seems like somebody is making these 3D dinosaur models solely for use in terrible games. Perhaps maybe museum software and demonstration software uses it a lot. This game is particularly only 1% off, lowering it down to $1.97, and it's English only. No decision really needs to be made there at all, clearly. Rush. And then this. And this. So what I want to do, kill this. Next we have a game on Steam called Flingwin Station, which seems to be a penguin sliding on ice minigame. There's a lot of numbers on the screen. This almost looks like an actual game. But I don't think I'm sold on it. I think it's probably a little too simplistic. There were some like web games like this before where you would try to line yourself up for kind of the longest run possible and get abilities. I haven't seen a game like that in a long time. $8.99, 56 Steam achievements, English only. This seems like an achievement game, but that would kind of make sense. But then that's too expensive, so they've priced themselves out of a sale as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, I could see this almost being a mini game in something bigger, but it needs to be something bigger, because even when I was playing those kinds of games where you are trying to go for distance, I lost interest in it rather quickly.
Job done.
Next we have a game on Steam called Zero Fantasy Canon. This looks like a NES game being emulated. It looks really terrible as a RPG maker, and of course, yeah, it's got some lewd stuff in it, so there's probably an uncensored patch, and that's really what this is. English language not supported, $4.19. Chinese? Yep, Chinese. So maybe there isn't an uncensored patch for this one. Maybe that's all the Chinese can release. Of course, that's not a game worth really putting on the fall list. Just keep on trying this Tavern Brawl until either we run out of news or we get victories. TechRaptor has an article here. Update: Chronicle Power Armor Helmet collectible is being recalled. Apparently, this collectible that was in like a $200 limited edition of Fallout 76 is prone to allowing mold to grow in it. Very, very bad black mold that you should not be wearing the helmet or in any way. I wonder if there's, let's see, the quote here is, mold can be present on the fabric insert inside the helmet, posing a risk to respiratory and other infections in individuals with compromised immune systems, damaged lungs, or allergies to mold. So this almost certainly means that this was built in some country, probably China, with such poor like storage and like development procedures that there was mold all throughout the factory that got into the fabric in the helmet. That would be my guess. And it's not unheard of to see things made out of trash or filled with trash, so I wouldn't be surprised if that might have affected the presence of mold in the helmets also. So it isn't really just like a ventilation issue. I want to make certain to say it's not the Power Armor Edition helmet, but the other edition helmet. This was a helmet that was exclusively sold by GameStop, so it might be that GameStop in particular went cheap in their collectibles that they were selling. So just again, this is what the helmet looks like. So if you wasted $200 getting a special edition at GameStop and got this helmet, stop wearing it, send it back. It's being recalled. It's dangerous to your health. And the last thing you need to do is potentially spend the rest of your life with damaged lungs because of a dumb helmet. Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called Noita, which this is, I think, that particle effects game. Yeah, it's already on my followed list. I'm already following it. This might be a very interesting game, or this might be kind of nothing. It also very possibly might run some CPUs like really, really high. So yeah, I've been thinking about how old my CPU actually is. Like right now, I could probably overclock my CPU to 3.8 gigahertz on 6 cores. It's 3.2 gigahertz, I believe, right now, but there's probably some L2, L3 cache things that could be improved with a more modern CPU that would be more useful than just a increase in core speed. I saw a i7 Intel CPU going for specifically selling for like $300, and it was an 8-core 3.8. So going from a 3.2 to a 3.8 is 600 megahertz, probably split between 2 threads, which means 300 megahertz increase in speed. I don't know if that's really a significant difference for games. Like, I don't think any game I've played has ever had a problem with the CPU being the bottleneck, or at least I don't have a way of determining if it's the CPU that's the bottleneck. So it's really just kind of new technologies. I'd want to get a new CPU that could use the new PCI Express standards and have more lanes of PCI Express, or they could connect to a faster speed and standard of RAM. I really am not super interested in just getting a new CPU that's just slightly faster, even if I'm totally mistaken and this actually is a lot, and 300 or 600 megahertz is a lot faster. Honestly, even if I went from one that was a 3.2 gigahertz CPU all the way up into a 5 gigahertz CPU, I'm not sure I'd really see much of a difference. But maybe I would. Maybe I'd see less loading when it is de-encrypting like shader textures and things like that. That could be a case. Anyways, I went on a side rant here. Noida is already on the following list. It's $17.99. Has a bunch of language interfaces. I'm following it to see if it's good. It's from the developers of Baba Is You, which is a game I want to play, and Environmental Station Alpha and Crayon Physics Deluxe, which I should probably see how many of those games are actually on my wish list. I already own the Swapper, so it's like Crayon Physics Deluxe would be the one game to think about. Yeah, I'll put this on the wish list, but I really wouldn't want to buy this for $19.99. But clearly, if I was ever to play a Crayon Physics game, this is the one to play. Alright. Come on, this. Oh man, I take way too long to play, and this is why I lose. I was gonna lose anyways, but whatever. I guess we'll give it one more try. TechRaptor has an article here, "Don't Give Up, a Cynical Tale Review." I'd give up on this. This was a game that I looked at that came out a couple days ago, and I dismissed out of hand as being just not visually polished enough to be interesting. And TechRaptor actually played it, so this is almost a confirmation of my immediate impression being right. So they gave it a 6.0, which they still said it was good. They say it has fun dialogue, even with cardboard characters, entertaining and bouncing soundtrack, and simple combat, which builds and builds. The cons are its confusing and contrived storyline, generic art design, and frustrating difficulty spikes. And yeah, I don't need those kinds of things in my life. Particularly frustrating difficulty spikes. So yeah, I feel I was very much in the right in my initial evaluation, which that's all I can really do for games, is just judge a book by its cover, unless it looks good enough to read. And this is true for anybody. You know, like, you go into an actual library or bookstore, you have to judge those books by the cover at least a little bit, otherwise you're going to engage in a insane and impossible task of potentially reading every book in the library to determine which books you actually like enough to actually have wanted to read. And that's not realistic. Next game we have on Steam is Power Rangers Battle for the Grid. This was rated positively, which is funny because when this was originally released, I believe on the Switch, it had like no story and it was kind of nothing. I still think you probably would have to be nostalgic, in particular for the original series of Power Rangers and not the latest series of Power Rangers for this fighting game. But they did eventually put in some story, and I guess it's going to be included in this, but there's also some major DLC, so it's really expensive at $20 plus another $6, $12, $18 for skins. That's a lot, but apparently this game was well received enough to justify releasing it on PC a second time, or at least that's my assumption. I guess that's perhaps a false assumption or a unproven assumption, because it could just be that they've determined they can get a little bit more money, so they're going to sell it on PC. But yeah, I'll put it on the fall list and think about it. Where a Power Rangers fighting game would fall in the list of the top 10, the potential top 10 fighting games that I'd want to cover, it's got to be well below that top 10. It'd probably be closer to the top 25 or top 50. But there might be some variety in that, and some reasoning or logic that I could use to justify playing something that's not going to obviously be something used for tournament play or anything like that, but has some relevance because it's based on a well-known license.
Job done.
Moving on, TechRaptor has this article. Bandai Namco is giving out free copies of Code Vein if you donate blood. Code Vein being the anime Dark Souls vampire game. So you have to donate blood on the game's launch. There's also a promo blood kit in the offering, although they're not sure what it contains. You have to sign up to give blood. The blood drive is being held in conjunction with the American Red Cross and will go on from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. on September 27th during TwitchCon. That's not a terrible idea. It's probably a great way to promote a game that in particular we already know the Western video game critics are going to not cover as much as they should. They are, I think, also trying very hard with this game to make sure it actually does succeed, and they kind of need it to succeed. On the other hand, this might be a case of a Bandai Namco might be a case of Bandai Namco also not really knowing how to promote their game in any other way, or maybe the game isn't that good. You generally speaking do not give away free copies of the game, and it seems like there is a unlimited number of free copies that they're going to give away. But yeah, I think that's not a terrible thought. If you want Code Vein, go donate blood. Click on the link and donate blood. I assume it's any place where the American Red Cross collects blood. Arguably, the American Red Cross then does some shady things and sells that blood. There's some more story behind that, all of that you can research. Last time I heard, at least, that's what I think it was the American Red Cross. It might have been a different organization. There are definitely organizations that sell blood and make a significant amount of profit for from something that you are donating for free and expecting to actually go into people, and it mostly always ends up going into people, but it can at times be used in ways that you weren't expecting. Gamma Sutra has an article here. Manticore Games raises $30 million for its social game platform Core. Yeah, I'm sure that really isn't going to go anywhere. I've never heard of Manticore Games or Core. Is there really a way to make a social gaming platform? Probably not, because if there was, I think Discord would have been it, or YouTube Gaming would have been it, or Twitch would have been it, and those things do exist, but they don't convert into something in my mind that feels like a Facebook or anything like that. Checkraptor has an article. Netflix Black Mirror Bandersnatch Emmy win secured for Outstanding Television Movie. As a game, I felt that Bandersnatch in particular was not that good. As a story, I felt the story was so controlled by the player that it turned, for most people, probably wouldn't be that good either. And even if you see every section and do like a perfect run of Bandersnatch, you're still not really getting an amazingly good story. Bandersnatch was up against a TV movie called Brexit and Deadwood the movie and King Lear and My Dinner with Herve, Herve. So I hadn't heard of any of those. Deadwood the movie, I guess, had a chance of potentially winning. I have heard of that. If anything, this is more of a case of the Netflix securing any Emmy wins at all gives more credibility to Netflix in general, and it may give a little bit more momentum to Netflix to make them actually make good long-running developments instead of what Netflix often does, which is make something like Neo Yokio and terrible things that people will watch and talk about, but nobody's really going to want to watch a second time after it's come out. Or particularly there's been a long run of terrible anime-esque things being made on Netflix, that most of which aren't actually anime. And I think Netflix could do to maintain some quality and not just sling pasta at the wall and see what sticks. Next we have a Metro article. Susume Mamote Night Hime no Totsugeki Serenade launches October 10th in Japan, 2020 in the West. This looks like an NES game. I'm gonna watch this trailer and see what it is. With the NES looking graphics, I think it's probably a princess being a knight, if I was to guess. Let's see. 3. In the turn. It seems like it's a train track based. Look at this. It's like a train track based kind of moving position tower defense game where you're attacking a bunch of things as a top-down twin-stick shooter, and you're getting coins for killing all these monsters. Feels like it's kind of like all over the place, and weird, certainly too. It seems like you have some different characters you can select as. It's a little bit of a weird one, it seems. But yeah, I don't think that one's gonna sell too well. Let's see. Take that. Take that. Take that. And return. Next, we have a game on Steam called Rhythm Snake, which looks to me to be just a low-effort snake game. Even if there is a musical rhythm element to it, it's so visually unappealing. I have no interest in it. $9.99 for this hideous garbage. Lots and lots of language support, 44 achievements. That's clearly an achievement game. That's way too many achievements. Let's see. Rush. And rush. This tavern brawl is weird because you have kind of an infinite number of cards and it still doesn't really help you. Next we have a game on Steam called Magic Colors. Looks like it's probably an isometric sort of puzzle game, but it looks kind of low effort. Looks like it might have been a mobile game at some point, or looks like it could have been a mobile game. Looking at the screenshots, I am unimpressed. Early access for 99 cents, 10 achievements. I guess I should applaud it for pricing itself right and having a realistic amount of achievements for what it is. But still not good enough that I'd want to put it in the follow list. This.
Job's done.
In return. Next, we have a game on Steam called Area 51 Defense. This one says it came out September 20th, but I don't recall seeing it on September 20th. So, one more troll game from that Area 51, and I don't know if this is going to be a repeated thing every year or not. I wouldn't be surprised if it is. I suppose it is also worth thinking that September 20th is only 9 days after 9/11 every year, so if you get people hyped for an Area 51 raid protest type thing every year, you might... I wouldn't be surprised if the US government was behind it all along. Conspiracy tinfoil hat thinking and all. I doubt we'll see any more things though. I'm making no progress, so I need to play 20 Murlocs, and I need to be off screen and do the solo adventure. So let's play a Murloc game, hopefully play 20 Murlocs, and then I think we'll be done, as I'm going to try real hard to burn through all the news. Gamatsu has an article here for the PC, PS4, Switch, and Xbox One. The post-apocalyptic semi-open world RPG Death Trash has been announced. Looks a little pixely, but zoomed out in such a way that you can actually show some details. is there an actual video here? Yeah, looks like it's kind of a isometric RPG thing. Doesn't really look that interesting. It needs a little bit more visual polish, I think. This one screenshot is interesting, but the actual game as it looks is kind of dull. So I'll definitely see what people say about it, but I'm not super hyped. I was a little bit hyped about this game, The Surge 2. I had heard people say they liked it, but it seems like it's at mixed reviews, so I'm going to put it on the fall list and see if maybe they fix their issues with mixed reviews. I don't know if there's really anything else to say here. $49.99, third-party EULA, English, and Spanish languages. Support is from Focus Home Entertainment Publisher, which published Greedfall at about the same time, and The Surge 1. You can see The Surge 1 is mostly positive, and Focus Home Interactive mostly publishes positive games. So yeah, I probably wouldn't affect any decision to cover the game, The Surge 1, if The Surge 2 was good or bad. I guess if The Surge 2 is good, my decision would be affected then, but if the game is bad, it really wouldn't be. Because there still might be a reason to just play the first game in a series and nothing else. Gamatsu has an article here for the PS4, Switch, and Xbox One. Sid Meier's Civilization 6 is coming out on November 22nd. So, yeah, if you're into the Sid Meier's Civilization thing. Although I don't think Sid Meier's is actually working in the company at all anymore. But I could be wrong about that. I don't know if that really means anything either. For Gamatsu, for the PS4, Techland Publishing and Piccolo Studios announced Arise, a simple story for PS4, which was probably another thing that could have been at the State of Play, and probably was at the State of Play, from the looks of it. I can't. Yeah, they have a like 21-minute depiction here. From the creators of Oxenfree, there's a game here that looks like you're doing a walk and talk with some nice weird monster creatures. Is this the one where you have to outdrink the devil? I think that might be what the story is. Right. This. And then this. And then this. I think I can probably win right now if that was my goal, but I'm actually trying to play Murloc cards, so I want to just wait till the 10th turn and play a bunch of Murlocs. Yeah, you have to outdrink the devil. There's like 30 drinks in this game. It looks interesting to say the least. We'll see how it works. Although Arise, a simple story, is that even am I even looking at the right game? I might be looking at the totally wrong game. No, yeah, I'm looking at After Party. So they've got that they linked to the wrong video there. Okay. Yeah, that was weird. Sorry. Apologies for that. should have done that first. Moving on, TechRaptor has the same article. Civ 6 for the PlayStation 4 version is coming this November. So, yeah. We already talked about that. TechRaptor has an article. The Last of Us Part 2 new gameplay and release date announced. Which, that person being held down doesn't look good. I actually haven't watched this trailer because I'm like Last of Us series is PlayStation exclusive. I can't play the first one or the second one because it's not on PC, and probably because it's would get Content ID claimed anyways. It's a weird scenario that happened here. Basically, it feels like the Sony State of Play sucked all of the oxygen out of the room for any announcements this week, and then didn't fill the room with anything as far as of announcements for itself. So people were just, I guess, afraid of Sony for one reason or another, that they would announce something big, and releasing a game or announcing any games at the same time would be missed.
What you want?
TechRaptor has the same story. Gorgeous new journey with Piccolo's Arise, a simple story, which seems like they may have the actual trailer there. Techland Publishing being the publishing development arm of Dying Light developer Techland. Yes, this is a very, very different trailer from what I was looking at for After Party. Looks like it might be good, but no release date yet, and no indication that it's coming to any other platforms. Is there any chance of me losing here? I think it's probably easier just to win. It's easier just to win and start another game than it is to try and kill all my minions and start over. And that was 7 of 20. I don't think we're even going to get 20 Murlocs played. TechRaptor has an article here. LA Noire, the VR case files, is available today on PlayStation VR. I guess this was released on PC before, and I don't think the VR case files are really any different in storyline. The 7 cases are not new, just rebuilt from the original to be enhanced by VR. And I imagine it takes out a lot of the elements that wouldn't make sense in VR. It is probably a decent excuse to try and play LA Noire one more time, or a small part of LA Noire one more time, but you're totally not going to get a full experience. I bet you don't even get too many cases in the later part of the gameplay at all, and it's just the first 7 or so, which arguably might be the best cases. TechRaptor has an article. Humanity features large crowds and funny physics. Humanity, a terrible name for a game. So it's just giant numbers of people. Of course, you don't have to actually program these as individual AIs doing individual pathfinding. You can use flow algorithms. It looks like this is a Lemmings-esque game of sorts. Which there might be something to that idea. but I wouldn't be surprised if there isn't. I also wouldn't be surprised if the game is incredibly boring. It's really showing a bunch of just weird images in the trailer without really explaining itself. Gamatsu has the same article, LA Noir, the VR case files now available. You can play in VR that one section where you box somebody and try not to get your hat knocked off, which you basically never do again in the game. Keep on playing these Murlocs. TechRaptor has this article, Belong Gaming Arena trials an emergency burrito button. Something I need, so
We must
I guess
well.
in general this would be like some of those movie theaters where you have a button and you can order food and somebody will come up and order it from you and deliver it. But instead it's esports. I don't think any real esports player though in the middle of a competition would be eating. If anything, I suspect you probably would want to play on an empty stomach just so any bright lights and the sweat and the nervousness doesn't require you to or push you towards vomiting. So yeah, I would say you probably want to play on a somewhat empty stomach and not eat in the middle of the process and potentially drop food all over your gear. It really is a pandering either to the concession stand who thought this was a good idea and thought they could get more sales from it, or a pandering to a at this point outdated and antiquated cliche of all gamers being constantly covered in Cheeto dust and eating and overweight and such. And that's definitely not esports gamers. In particular, most esports people are rather skinny and look fairly athletic. In fact, they look a lot more like jocks do than they look like nerds or geeks. TechRaptor has the same article. Spirit of the North takes you on a foxy journey this November. Do they have any new pictures? No. Let's see. Ports for the PC, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch are planned in the future. It's coming to the PlayStation 4 first. The exclusives that Sony has right now for the PlayStation 4 are not good exclusives. So I still think that they're kind of behind the curve. But I think my perspective might be a little bit wrong too. Like, I'd really like to see the numbers of how many people this generation are playing on the Xbox One versus the PlayStation 4. Coming from having played on the Xbox 360, I could just have a bit of a bias mentally there.
Lightning can strike twice.
Moving on, TechRaptor has an article. Handy Games announces Endling, an eco-friendly game where you play as a fox, which is a different game. Endling Extinction is Forever. So clearly somebody told somebody that they were making a game about a fox, and then somebody else decided to make a different game to compete against that. There's no way that there'd be two announcements of games where you play as a fox in the same time. It's a little weird that that would happen. Yeah. Looking at the trailer, I will say Inling is more where you're playing as a fox in a what looks like post-apocalyptic world instead of just a casual walking simulator style world where it's just calm and collected. But wait a minute, there was another Fox game too, which was the Fox Spirit game. So there's been no less than 3 Fox games announced. Is next year the year of the fox? In the Chinese? Maybe it is. Maybe that would explain it. I suppose it might be worth mentioning that Handy Games is a branch of THQ Nordic. They were the publisher of El Hijo, Lock's Quest, and the mobile versions of This Is the Police 2, Battle Chasers, and Titan's Quest. Indling Extinction is Forever is coming out for PC, PS4, Xbox One, and Switch sometime in 2021. Maybe 2021 is the year of the fox. Really isn't a game that needed to be announced 2 years early. Let's see. On September 24th, Susan Wojcicki met with some Prime Minister, the Prime Minister of New Zealand, to discuss YouTube's progress and commitment to responsibility and the Global Internet Forum to counter terrorism. I suppose in this case, this is something Susan Wojcicki should do, is dealing with governments and dealing with potential regulation and legislation. That is good, assuming Susan Wojcicki is actually acting properly as the CEO of YouTube and trying to do what's best as possible. There's also some minor thing. Appeal of Conscience Foundation made some remarks about YouTube while she was speaking at the Appeal of Conscience Foundation Awards. So, yeah. She's hobnobbing. There's a update about verifications. If you have 100,000 subs, you'll be eligible to apply for verification. Okay. If you're also a real creator, brand, or entity channel, and you have a complete and public and active channel. Okay. Like, I have no desire whatsoever to apply for verification, though. Like, I don't really see a need. Maybe if I had 100,000 subs, there would become a need at that point, but there was plenty of people called Rydo on YouTube before me and a few after me, and none of them seem like they're really impersonating me. They're just using that name as much as I am, that stage name. Gamma Sutra has an article using the language of film and theater to entice new players in the FMV game Erica, talking about that game Erica. I believe this is one of the games I wanted to cover and play. I don't think it was reviewed amazingly well, though. But yeah. This is an article, I guess, that reminds you that Erica exists. Where are we on the daily quest? We have like 3 more things to talk about, so it doesn't make sense to go back and play a Murloc or try and get a Tavern Brawl. I suppose I will just have to play the Murloc off screen. I mean, I guess I could jump in here and we'll just play one Murloc and then we'll concede when we run out of news, since it's that. And we'll cover these last 3 things. There's a game on Steam here called Espire 1 VR Operative, which doesn't look terrible enough for me to ignore. And apparently you get a free copy of Killing Floor Incursion. It's a VR game coming soon though. Put this on the fall list. I'm gonna end up cleaning the fall list, just removing everything that still says coming soon. Almost certainly. This looks like this might be a good VR game as a first-person shooter. Maybe. And the developers of Killing Floor, if that's who this is, which I assume it is, would have some expertise or experience at least in that compared to random people. I saw Jim Sterling covered this game, Contra Rogue Corps. We have this at 75% of 13 users found this game negative. Apparently this game has a terrible cooldown on its main gun, so you can't actually play it as a run and gun shooter, which is exactly what it should be, and so you're just gonna have a terrible experience regardless. This is a Konami game like Metal Gear Survive in a lot of ways, and this is what Konami is just mostly boiled down to. It'd be interesting to actually see what they've released just in total on Steam. Sort by release date. And then come over here and play this. Alright. So, most recent Season Pass for Contra Rogue Corps. I cannot believe that. And they're already selling the game for $40, and it's not well received. Esports, eFootball, Pro Evolution Software 2020 is mixed. Contra Anniversary Collection, pretty well received. Castlevania Anniversary Edition and the Anniversary Arcade Classics all received pretty well. So if they just release old games made by the old Konami, they go pretty well. But as soon as they start trying to release anything else, a light version, free-to-play version of Pro Evolution Soccer 2019, Super Bomberman R, they didn't get that out well. Metal Gear Survive mixed. I'm surprised it's just mixed. Yeah, Metal Gear Solid Legacy is a movie, so just total garbage. Like, Konami has really just boiled down to total garbage as far as what they're releasing. And I would have thought that there was some anime games that Konami was also still putting out, but I guess that's Bandai Namco, and I'm just confusing the two companies. I don't think there's a no keyboard and mouse support. That's insane. I don't think there's a reason to put this on the follow list. Also, a little odd that it's not got any Japanese language support at all. Just take a moment there. Full English audio, no Japanese support at all. So they put out this game and didn't even want to embarrass their home country. They knew it was so bad. At least that's what I'm taking from that. Let's see. And then we have a game on Steam called Chernobyl: The Untold Story, which is, looks like it's a point-and-click adventure game, and it looks too much like a NES game. Frankly, it's just not zoomed in enough or detailed enough to in what is being shown. $2.99 English and Russian, which also means it very possibly is a Russian troll game. So, have to be a little careful about that also. And then this. So then that brings me to the Humble Bundle, and I do know that there's a new Humble Bundle out. So let's pull that up. There's a mixed bundle, Unity 2019, which seems to have some Unity assets that you could program with, but not anything too game breaking.
It's your lucky
I have questioned whether those bundles should really exist, encouraging people who don't have the wherewithal to get proper education to try and make a game when they don't have the education. There's a photo painting bundle with a bunch of Paint Shop Pro Elements Ultimate and Corel Painter 2019, which I don't think you would want any of those softwares. You'd either want to go with Adobe Photoshop, or you would want to go with GIMP, which is the open source one. There's a builder bundle, which includes for $1 when ski lifts go wrong and tricky towers and concrete jungle. And then if you pay more than the average of $3.68, you get Portal Knights and Bridge Constructor Portal and Seum, Speedrunners from Hell. If you pay $10, you get Staxel. Okay. It's not super impressive games. I think there was another one. Taking a lunch. No? Maybe it's the monthly bundle that's coming out. Yeah, I don't see the monthly bundle here. And the Tech and Electronics bundle. It's just a bunch of Make magazines. Didn't Make magazine go out of business and shut down and then reopen after a couple of months? I think they did. These would all be digital versions that you're getting, by the way, of these things, just PDFs. So yeah, I wouldn't get too excited about them. Alright, and that puts me back at my Twitter feed. Let's just look at our Twitter feed for a brief second. Respawn announces a Medal of Honor above and beyond for the Oculus Rift. Interesting. I don't even need to open that tab though. I'll just mention the article. And then as I'm scrolling down, I'm not sure that there's anything new that even showed up on my Twitter feed. Maybe I'm not getting... Maybe Twitter's having some trouble. Nintendo's free-to-play mobile Mario Kart now offers a monthly subscription. There's a game called Beachbody Bros. We'll talk about that on Friday. It looks like a kind of joke game. Scrolling down. Wish I could scroll down faster and read a little bit faster than I do, but that would never be faster. Never be fast enough. Felix the Reaper gets a release date. That's a game, apparently. Is there going to be anything important here? Or should we just wrap up? Facebook announces Facebook Horizon, a social VR world that may or may not be the Matrix. Okay. A lot of these articles say they're from like an hour ago, And they couldn't possibly have been an hour ago because we've been streaming for 2 hours. Let's see. I bet there isn't going to be anything new. Here's an interesting picture between the difference between what Lilith looked in Borderlands 2 versus Borderlands 3. There was an interesting speculation put about how Randy Pitchford really has not been bragging about PC sales and the Epic Store exclusive. Perhaps that's a negotiating tactic, but for as much as they thought it would be super great for them, there is, I guess, some possibility that they're staying a little quiet, because it was 70% of sales, I think, were digital, but there was no guarantee that any large percentage of that was digital on PC versus digital buying the game and pre-ordering the game via the Xbox One store or by the PlayStation Store. Yeah, and I'm back to where I was, so just nothing happening at all today. Oddly, a sleepy Wednesday. Well, that's going to be it for the stream. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me even further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.